Good evening and welcome to episode 50 of the Jacksonian. As I'm yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and I have with me are these two awesome guys named Cliff and Mac from the Big Ten team Rivalry and the contributors to Michigan at the Voice of College Football, where they once a week make a video called Point a Minute, where they give their latest takeaways on the latest news on what's going on in Michigan football. And I'm gonna tell you something, it's gonna be a wild ride, especially discussing on what's happening with Michigan. I'm curious to see what's going to happen for the 2024 season, and we'll be discussing quite a lot about Sherrod Moore, the QB situation, and much, much more topics. How you doing today, gentlemen?
Doing well.
Doing all right.
Doing well.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming on. It's an honor talking with you guys. And before we start the show, and I'll start in alphabetical order with Cliff. Would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Cliff, and I've been a Michigan fan since I was about 10 years old. I think one of the first games I saw or watched intently was the 81 Blue Bonnet Bowl when Bo Schembechler was still the coach. And I've been a Michigan fan ever since. Like I was saying earlier, we started a website back in, I know our database started back in 2008, but Mac and I started a website back in it must have been 2011, 2012 or something, where we just started keeping track of Big Ten stats on our own, understanding fully that ESPN and Fox Sports and all those places do more and better. But we thought, no, we wanted our own because we wanted to be able to make up our own kind of cool stats. And so we can do stuff on the website that you can't always find on those other sites. But otherwise, we make up stats.
Yeah. Whatever makes us happy, we make it up.
But otherwise, outside of college football, I am a full-time programmer and a part-time amateur woodworker. I have my own workshop where I like to build stuff and give things away, and I have a lot of fun taking things that people would normally throw away and rebuilding them into something that people can use. I have a lot of fun remaking things. My wood shop at one point, I called it the Remaker Shop. Because I take old things and I make them into new things, and I have a lot of fun doing that. And then like I said, my day job is I'm a web developer programmer, and I've been doing that for 25 some odd years now. So
nice. There we go. And now we go to Mac. Should I tell the audience a little bit yourself, Mac?
Yeah. So I'm Mackenzie, or Mac. Sometimes I go by. I don't know. I got to give a whole biography here. I didn't realize I didn't study, man. I work in marketing. I daylight in the marketing industry where I sell things to unsuspecting consumers who give me their money, which is a lot of fun. And moonlight as a pseudo college football analyst, where we talk all things college football, and we absolutely do make up stats. We made up a lot of stats to try and feel a little bit better about the debacle that was the Texas game a couple weeks ago. So, there's that, I guess. Otherwise, I don't know. I've been a Michigan fan since birth, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
I think I was trying to think about this. The earliest memory I have as a Michigan fan, I think, is the Michigan State game with the last second touchdown to Mario Manningham. Do you remember that?
2007 on ABC Saturday night.
Holy cow.
I think it was earlier than that, wasn't it? I thought it was like 05 or something.
Yeah. I think that was it, yeah.
But I know Mario Manningham caught the pass, and I remember Dad and I were right in front of the television, probably just like our faces like right up on it. And when Mario Manningham came down with that ball, Brad Nessler was on the call. And man, we freaked out. It was the best. That was an awesome game. That was like a 3 touchdown comeback too, I think, if I remember correctly.
That was a class, and that was in Mark D'Antonio's first year at Michigan State and the last year of Lloyd Carr at Michigan.
Okay, yep. There you go. Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, but yeah, yep. I think that's the earliest memory I have. Unless, of course, this memory I have of Pete Carroll in the trophy ceremony at the Rose Bowl, because Michigan lost to Pete Carroll in the Rose Bowl several times.
Oh, yeah, 2006.
Okay, well, maybe that's the earliest one then. I could probably come up with more, but we'll just leave it at that.
Sorry, man. It's like I always have fun remembering college football stuff, good, bad, and ugly. And
Oh, yes.
makes you feel better. I hated 07 as well because it was like, as a Bama fan, I didn't like that year, but 06 was way worse right there.
Yeah. Well, 07 was wasn't that Saban's first year? That was almost Saban's first year.
That 2007 was Nick Saban's first year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember that one not being very good, but I guess it kind of worked out for you guys, didn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's for sure. Michigan State has regretted it ever since.
Oh man. Oh man, that was fun. It's like it's I'll just tell you right now, like 07 I know was pretty disappointing for Michigan, but it's like I always like that Oregon game for some reason because of like Dennis Ditson doing that little Statue of Liberty, doing his little head nod before he scores a touchdown.
Yeah. I think somebody popped a Heisman pose in that game too, if I remember correctly. Maybe that was App State the week before. I can't remember, but that's what I remember because teams would then, like, every time a team beat Michigan at Michigan Stadium, one of their players would inevitably pop a Heisman, to make fun of Desmond Howard. And I don't know. I guess that's a thing now, and I'm pretty sure that's when that got started.
Well, and I know like
the shining moment of 2007, though, even though it was a disappointing season, was the bowl game. Because I remember the bowl game, and we weren't sure anything good was going to happen, and then it turns out Michigan ends up beating Florida.
Yeah,
and Tim Tebow was the quarterback, and Urban Meyer was the coach. So that was a nice cherry on the top of that season, anyway.
Well, and especially, because especially it was Lloyd Carr's last game as head coach.
Yep.
I'll say they ended that era with a bang right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because Tim Tebow was all the rage. I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't pay as much attention to Urban Meyer at the time, but I remember Tim Tebow just being, he was the guy. And for Michigan to beat him on that game and then have Lloyd Carr's last game be a win at the I think that was the Rose Bowl, or the
Gator Bowl.
No, Gator Bowl.
Capital
to have that win at the Gator Bowl, yeah.
Was it the Capital One Bowl or the Gator Bowl?
Okay, yeah, it was the Capital
One Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. It was on ABC.
Okay.
I remember.
Man, I said that so confidently too. Sorry.
Okay. I was like 10 years old watching that game.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because that was pretty fun watching it, and
there
were like a few other games. Like later that night, I was watching Georgia Hawaii. Hawaii got smacked. Although I wanted to see Colt Brennan win that one, but I remember I have an uncle who was watching that game. He was like, "Oh, Hawaii's getting their feelings hurt."
That happens often to Hawaii.
Yeah, but rest in peace, Colt Brennan, the definition of awesomeness at Hawaii.
Oh man, yeah.
Yep. But I will say, the 2024 season, I've been wondering about that. I know Michigan's looking kind of down as of now, and I know that. So, what's your take on it so far?
Dad, do you want to go first? Me? Oh, all right.
Neither of us want to talk about it first. That should tell you something right there.
Yeah, we don't really want to talk about it.
Hey, it could be worse. At least you're not Florida State.
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. So look, I mean, last year, Michigan wins the national championship, and everybody, the coaching staff, the players, there's a massive amount of turnover. And so coming into this season, conventional logic says, okay, there has to be a step back. And I think in is this saying heart of hearts, in the back of our minds, we're always like, yeah, that's probably going to be the case. There's probably going to be a step back. What does that step back look like? Does that look like, maybe we lose to Ohio State this year? Well, Texas, Oregon, and USC are on the schedule too. Which one of them are we going to lose to if we do? But then off-season hype starts. Okay, and you've got Sharon Moore saying a lot has changed, and yet everything is the same. So the culture is still intact. There's still a ton of good players there. So theoretically, there's really nothing stopping Michigan coming into the season from potentially going back to the Big Ten championship. But then that Fresno State game happens, and you're just, I think your average Michigan fan was shocked. I saw that game and I just kind of went, yeah, I mean, I was kind of afraid of this. And I think that's because coming into the season, I mean, first off, I don't care what happens this season. I know we're going to at least make a bowl game. That's fine. I just want to beat Michigan State. But other than that, we just won the national championship. I'm going to give Sharon Moore a little time to cook. Like, it'll be fine. But everybody else, you know, you're reading into that offseason hype. Everything's the same. Michigan's still an extremely talented team. They should have one of the best defenses in the country again. And then that Texas game happens, and it's like, no, this is all wrong. We were lied to at some point. And, you know, maybe we were, maybe we weren't. I like to say it's off-season hype, so you really shouldn't buy into it, but obviously you're going to. That's the point of hype. So, I don't know, just to put a bow on it, I'm a little sad and disappointed, but not even a little bit surprised. And I'm really intrigued by what's going to happen this Saturday with Alex Orji starting at quarterback.
Oh man, I wish RG3 was calling that game because I just want to hear him go, "There's an orgy in the end zone."
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yep.
Hey, maybe if Gus Johnson's calling a Michigan game, we can hear him make a reference to that. You know, kind of like how we heard him, how he meant to say shot, but he really said the other thing on Iowa, Maryland, and women's basketball.
Oh no.
I'm just like, Gus Johnson, do you have a cameo? Okay, I want you to say this. I want you to make a reference to this on Alex Orgy.
There you go.
If nothing else,
I love Gus Johnson.
Yeah. Let him be named Orgies. I mean, I'm gonna have so much fun with it.
If nothing else, he's probably going to post a video on Twitter about it. He did last year. Like, Alex Orji scored a touchdown at some point, and RG3 posted on Twitter a redubbing of the play, and it was hilarious. It was great. He's a man of the people.
There you go. Yeah, ESPN. That wasn't a dumb move firing RG3, but oh well for you. NBC's gonna get him. Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I mean that would be awesome because I mean Fox probably has enough people. CBS, that'd be cool if they got him. I mean,
yeah, it wouldn't. He'd probably end up be calling a bunch of Notre Dame games, right? That's CBS, isn't it, or is that NBC?
NBC.
That's NBC. Yeah.
Oh, he's probably
that might be fun.
Yeah, because I mean that would be cool. I want to hear him call all the games. I don't care which.
Oh yeah.
It is. But NBC, they're definitely missing some of that Big Ten lineup because I see a crappy slot. It's just like, oh my, like who's getting excited about Florida, Mississippi State? I know I'm not. I mean, that's not Dak Prescott, Mississippi State. That's not 1940 Mississippi State.
1940. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they're pitiful. And Florida, I mean, we know Billy Napier's going to get fired, so he's out.
Yeah, okay. So, and I want to say this, and then Dad, we can get to your feelings on 2024. But okay. The Billy Napier thing at Florida. So, like, obviously, we're Big Ten fans, right? Like, I'm not paying a whole heck of a lot of attention to what's going on behind the scenes in SEC country. But the Billy Napier thing, that just kind of, that whole thing just kind of sucks. And it smells a little fishy because wasn't it their coach before then was Mullins, Dan Mullins?
Yep,
and
Dan
Mullen. He wasn't Dan Mullen. He wasn't bad. Like, they weren't doing that bad under him, and it felt like they were actually kind of on an upward trajectory, but then they fire him. I can't remember when that was or what.
After 2021, they were at 5-6 at the time. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of feel like Florida firing Dan Mullen. It's like the college football equivalent of the Lions firing Jim Caldwell and then thinking, oh, we can do better because we're going to get Matt Patricia because he's a Bill Belichick assistant. Yeah, how'd that work out for you, Detroit?
That is an amazing comparison. Well done with that. That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's okay. So with that being said, what are they going to do now? Like, where's Florida going to go now? I mean, maybe they can lure Urban Meyer out of retirement. That'd be funny.
Oh, he was like, nope.
No.
Yeah. Texas and Oklahoma are in the SEC now. No, he's done.
No.
Yeah,
Hey, but Urban Meyer will come to Michigan for $25 million, I heard. So
yeah, yeah. Like I thought he was gonna go to Notre Dame when it opened, but he was too impatient, and Notre Dame was too impatient, honestly, because it was like, no, we're gonna get a coach now. It's like, you should have gotten Urban.
I don't know.
I saw,
Sorry,
speaking of Notre Dame, just before the show, I was actually checking my news feed, and there was an article that popped up for Notre Dame from a Notre Dame Indiana newspaper saying that Notre Dame was looking for a new head coach. And by the time I clicked on it, the article had been deleted.
Ooh.
So okay,
what are they hiding?
Yeah.
What are they?
Hold on, I'm just gonna start Googling some things.
Oh man, let's see it. Like, oh man, I want to pull it up.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, I'm just curious to see what's gonna happen with the Irish. Which I'm thinking honestly that Northern Illinois loss must have gave them a reality check.
Oh yeah. Yep.
See, and that's the kind of loss that makes no sense. I mean, you've got Ohio State last year. They take down to the wire, and the only reason they lost that game is because Marcus Freeman can't count to 11. And now you're losing to Northern Illinois. What exactly is the mindset that a team has to have coming into a game against Northern Illinois to where they could actually lose it? Like, you'd think, like, if you struggle in the first half, maybe around halftime, they'll be like, oh, okay, we should probably try now. And then they'll go and win the game. I just don't understand how you can mentally stay in a game with Ohio State, but you don't show up against Northern Illinois.
I mean, nobody's really showing up for Northern Illinois, and that's what Northern Illinois counted on. And I saw where Thomas Hammock, where he was going on every show I could find. He was going on Pardon My Take on Barstool Sports, the Dan Patrick Show, and he was even going on Fearless with Jason Whitlock, saying like, "Hey, listen, Coach Freeman, if you want my advice on how we beat you, we can give it to you if you want." And luckily, Coach Freeman was like, you know what? I'll tell you what I can get. I mean, I do like that about him. He's not gonna go, oh well, I was wrong. Get over it. I mean, he seems like a likable guy, but I mean, it's just it's just a shame that his teams are always losing that one game they shouldn't. And I just don't, because like I was raised Catholic, so it kind of gives me an excuse to pull for Notre Dame, except when Alabama plays them.
Naturally.
Yeah. It's weird. As a Michigan fan, like everybody, I think all Michigan fans hate Notre Dame, but I'm over here like, I don't know. I just feel like, they're kind of that redheaded stepchild that I just feel really bad for all the time. And so I just, every time I see a Notre Dame fan, I'm just like, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Like, don't cry anymore. It'll be fine. I don't know.
I think the Michigan Notre Dame rivalry is because Michigan and Notre Dame are the two pretty much oldest schools in Midwest football.
Oh, okay.
So when football came to the Midwest from the East Coast, it was Michigan and Notre Dame and Chicago basically were the big teams. So I think that's where that comes from. And Chicago doesn't even exist as a football team anymore. So
yeah, because it's like when you're talking about Chicago, it's like Chicago Bears, Bulls, White Sox,
right,
Cubs, Blackhawks. Be more specific.
Yeah.
Like,
right. And I think that school actually does still have a football team, but I believe they're, I don't know, Division III or something like that.
They're not even
FCS. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they got more of a chance at getting a drink at the Long Branch with Miss Kitty than even being a part of the FCS, let alone being in the Big Ten.
Right.
But it'd be amazing if they were.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Old rivalries renewed.
Yeah. Oh man, the Michigan-Chicago game. I wonder what the impact on ticket prices would be if Michigan were to ever play Chicago. I mean, obviously it would be a blowout, but just the historical impact of it would be sweet.
Right.
Totally.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
One can daydream.
Yep. That's all we can do. But I mean, like Michigan, Notre Dame, I know it says that we have to wait till 2033 and 2034. we're not waiting that long. I doubt we're going to. I think honestly, if you see Michigan, Notre Dame play each other in either a bowl game or a playoff game, here's what's going to happen. You're going to see a lot of articles calling for the game to come back, and I guarantee you, both the athletic directors are talking in the back room, trying to get something set up before the end of this decade, or at least the start of the 2030s decade. No, and the TV networks, Fox, CBS, NBC, especially NBC, because they're not putting Notre Dame Louisville on NBC because they want Louisville to be a part of the future of the Big Ten. No. They're wanting like Notre Dame, because I know like Notre Dame, Purdue. I mean, I'm sure that was pretty good in the ratings, which I mean, that's not really anything to brag about because it was a sloppy week last week. But still, though, you put like a Notre Dame, Purdue, or like a Notre Dame, Michigan State, or whatever. I can guarantee NBC's talking with the Big Ten, like, hey, if this hits the fan, let's bring Notre Dame back so that we can have Notre Dame, Michigan on an annual basis again, and Notre Dame, USC, Michigan State, Purdue, so on and so forth.
There's so many rivalries that exist between Notre Dame and current Big Ten teams. I mean, even the Notre Dame Michigan State game was getting kind of heated there for a little bit. And then Notre Dame Ohio State, that was a great game last season. Notre Dame Michigan is a classic. Notre Dame Purdue, I think, is a rivalry game, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Notre Dame
Purdue
USC.
and Indiana, yeah.
Purdue and
Notre Dame, Purdue and Indiana. I mean,
yeah.
they're all in Indiana. Those are three in-state rivalries there.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I mean, okay. So with the way Indiana is playing this year, and I know we're way off topic and we'll get back to it, but like with the way Indiana is playing this year, dude, I mean, they wiped the floor with UCLA at their own house. Could you imagine an Indiana Notre Dame game this year?
I'm Indiana. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like Notre Dame's not going. Notre Dame won't bring their A game against Indiana. Kurt Sinet's like, they're not respecting us. This isn't the Notre Dame of 1988. This is Notre Dame of today. That was another thing Coach Hammock was saying, because it was kind of like dating myself.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, like this isn't your grandpa's Hoosier team either. Like this team, well, actually, I don't know how good the Hoosiers were back when a grandpa would be around. But anyway, but that being said, I mean, they're not bad this year. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That would be a curious matchup for sure. I know Notre Dame like beat the brakes off of Purdue, but I think Indiana would too. So I would be curious about that kind of a matchup. That would be cool.
Oh man, it's like I thought it'd be a little bit closer than that, honestly, but it's like 66-7. Like, oh my god, this feels like I'm watching 2008 Oklahoma in a way, where they're like beating everybody by 66-21 or something.
Yeah. I mean, Marcus Freeman was screaming at them all week at practice. Like, if we lose another cupcake game, I guess I'll just say, I mean, you got to think he was probably really worried about being put on the hot seat after the NIU game. So to come out and destroy Purdue, I mean, that was all mental. That NIU game had to be all mental for them to be able to do that against Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But we are going to see a great game on CBS between the Michigan Wolverines and the USC Trojans. What is your take on this game so far, gentlemen?
All right, Dad, you go first this time.
So, just to backtrack slightly on what we were expecting from Michigan this season, and I think this leads into it anyway, is that Mac mentioned preseason hype, which actually I hadn't really thought about until you just mentioned that, Mac, that when Harbaugh was coached those first 6 seasons, it seemed like we got a whole bunch of preseason hype. I mean, him taking the team, overseas for practice, setting up camps all around the country and that kind of thing. And just, Harbaugh was a showman athlete. And we had all of this preseason hype. Michigan would get ranked in the top 15, top 10. And then, those first 6 seasons, while there were some good seasons in there, for the most part, it was kind of a letdown. and they weren't sure if Harbaugh was going to go anywhere because he couldn't win the big games, even though he was having good seasons. And I think, what was it, the 2016 season that, I mean, outside of 5 points, they would have had a perfect season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2016, they lost to Iowa, and
they lost 3 games and in a total of 5 points over those 3 games. That would have been a great season. But anyway, when it got to and then 2020 was just an absolute disaster for a variety of reasons. Some of them not Michigan's fault. But when we were coming into the 21 season, I remember telling Mac that, I still love Michigan. I'm still going to watch the games, but I've kind of given up having any hope for a good Michigan season. And then Michigan wins and wins and wins and wins. And we go to the Big Ten 3 times, and we go to the Big Ten championship 3 times. We beat Ohio State 3 times. We beat Michigan State twice. Then we win the national championship. And so over the last 3 years, I've just been on cloud 9 thinking, this is incredible. But again, after that Fresno State game, this year, the Fresno State game, I was getting really worried during the game. But then Mac and I went to that game, and as we're walking out of it, Mac, I think you were the one who said it first, that this really wasn't a lot different than the the East Carolina game at the beginning of the 23 season. Michigan didn't look very good in that game. They won, but they didn't look good. And then they did 5 games that way, even when they got to was it Maryland or Rutgers, where they still didn't look very good, but they won. And we were getting
games, really.
and I was getting worried about that. But then, of course, obviously they continued to win. And what we realized was that Michigan was doing what it took to win without a lot of flash. And so then when we switched over to this year, I know we lost a lot of coaches. We lost a lot of players. But a lot of those coaches, assistant coaches, became the O-line coach, the DC coach, that kind of thing. They moved up. And so we thought, okay, well, these guys have been, the coaches have been coached up. The second string players who are now going to be starters, they've been coached up. So we thought maybe this will be one of those rare times when Michigan reloads instead of rebuilds. And so far, it doesn't look like that's the case. But now the caveats there are, like Mac was saying, is Sharon Moore just sort of, now that everything is on his shoulders, is it going to take a little bit of time for him to catch up? Michigan has, I believe, the strongest, or the toughest strength of schedule score of any Big Ten team. Their strength of schedule is higher than Oregon's and Ohio State's. But they're not looking as good as them. But then with that in mind, maybe they're not going to look as good because they've got to play the tougher teams. Michigan so far is the only team, not the only team. Wisconsin obviously just played Alabama. But so Wisconsin and Alabama are the only, or Wisconsin and Michigan are the only 2 teams to play top 5 teams so far this season. And obviously neither did well. But with all of that in mind, going into the USC game this weekend, I am now sort of tentatively optimistic. I want to believe. I think that there's the possibility that Michigan, that Sharon Moore is just trying to get the right guys in the right spots, and he just hasn't been able to do that yet. So now maybe with 3 games gone, now with the change from Warren Davis to Alex Orji, maybe that combination is going to come into play. And I am hopeful that they're going to give USC a good game. At the very least, it should be a good game. My optimism says I believe they're going to win, maybe by a field goal. But I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. Mac, you can add on or dispute whatever you want, but that's where I'm at right now. I'm like tentatively optimistic that Michigan is actually going to make a turnaround this weekend and pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just build on that real quick. I think 2 things have to be true for Michigan to win this game. The first thing is that Michigan's offense has been beating themselves through the first 3 weeks. I mean, 3 interceptions against Arkansas State. That's unacceptable. And that's the reason.
That's a Butch Jones team. That you can't do that.
Right. That's unacceptable. And that right there is the reason why Alex Orji is going to be starting this week. And in my opinion, Alex Orji should have been starting from the beginning, but whatever. So the first thing is that Michigan cannot beat themselves on offense, and maybe putting Alex Orji as the starter is enough to trigger that. He's got a pretty good running attack. The second thing is that USC's defense obviously looked really good against LSU. But LSU is not the LSU of Burrow. I can't remember his first name.
2019.
Yeah, 2019, Burrow.
In 2018, he was there as well.
Yeah, shoot. Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah. They're not 2018 or 2019 Joe Burrow LSU. They're not Jaden Daniels LSU. Jaden Daniels? Yeah. They're a completely different LSU offense right now, in just from what I've heard of their roster. So it's entirely possible that LSU has taken a step back and USC has taken a step forward. Now, USC can take a step forward on defense, but that step forward might look good against LSU, but maybe not against other teams, other better teams. The question is, can Michigan stop beating themselves on offense to be one of those better offenses that makes USC's defense actually look, maybe come down to earth a little bit? So those are the two things that I think have to be true for Michigan to win the game. I think Michigan's offense has to stop beating themselves, and USC's defense has to be overrated a little bit. And if USC's defense ends up being exactly what they look like, really good, then this is going to be a rock fight and it's going to be tough. And I think USC probably wins it. If both of those things are not true or don't happen, then it's entirely possible Michigan gets blown out again. And this entire season just needs to be flushed down the toilet. We're restarting. We'll try again next year. That's fine.
Well, I mean, I know that it's just like the first year jitters of Sharon Moore. I mean, I think he's going to do all right in the long term. I mean, I know it's like 2024 is kind of a meh year. I mean, it's a rebuilding year, but I think he'll do fine in Ann Arbor. I think we're going to see like a Hollywood reboot of a 10-year rivalry, like a 10-year war, if you will, like with Ryan Day and Sharon Moore. I think we can see something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, Sharon Moore obviously is proven he knows how to lead the team. Now, granted, he had the crutch of Harbaugh being nearby and coaching the team during the week, but he still has a record. He can still do it. But I think, yeah, with the everything being on his shoulders right now, like you said, it's just going to take him some time to get his feet under him. To really be able to move forward.
Yeah, because like when Harbaugh left for the Chargers to go get that Super Bowl ring, and when he got suspended, I told people, and I told John D'Animo on Michigan at the Voice of College Football, not just on that channel and on the Ocho, but on an episode of the Jacksonian last November, that I kind of felt like that we were going to see Sharon Moore take over as the Nets head man in Ann Arbor when that day comes where Harbaugh's like, you know what? I want a Super Bowl ring. I'm sick of tired of hearing about my brother, Super Bowl ring this, Super Bowl ring that. He hadn't even won a ring with Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure Thanksgiving's pretty awkward at the Harbaugh house.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, like, the mom's just, like, telling them, oh, well, you're both champions. You're both perfect. You're both winners. And the dad's just like eating Thanksgiving dinner, and he's just like, "It's John."
I
won the national title. I led Michigan to 3 straight wins against Ohio State.
Yeah, it would be fun though to be a fly on the wall at one of those Thanksgiving dinners. I don't know if you guys saw that video where Jim and John are arguing with their dad about who came up with certain expressions. No. And John Harbaugh is trying to take credit for it. Jim Harbaugh is trying to take credit for it. And then finally, Jack, the dad, says, no, I came up with that one. That one's mine. It was just imagine these two brothers in their 60s arguing with their dad about, wait, no, I thought of it. No, I thought of it.
Kind of like old school version of Pardon the Interruption.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I gotta be honest, like like Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon, they kind of look like old angry bulldogs. Like they're
Man,
like,
I can't even remember the last time I watched Pardon the Interruption. I think I remember watching that one day and I just got like physically anxious from how angry I was that they were talking over each other so much. And I understand now that that's the point of the show, but I'm just like, would you guys just shut up and listen to each other for a second? Like, somebody finish a thought.
You don't get ratings with that. You don't get ratings with being reasonable.
No, why would you? That's why we have a show.
like they all look angry on there. Like Wilbon, he looks like he just looks tired or something, and Kornheiser just looks mad all the time. Like what'd you do, man?
I can't remember which is the guy with the white beard. It's
Tony Kornheiser.
Kornheiser. That guy looks like his blood pressure is always over 200. Like he looks like he's just always upset.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like when you tell yourself staying at home in a freaking basement is the way to go. Of course, you'd be upset.
That's fair. That's fair. And when the point of your show is that a script is not possible, like you cannot script that show because how do you know when somebody else is going to interrupt you? And it's like, no, dude, didn't you see the script? I have a whole line here I have to deliver. And
because it's like, it's like, I get it. You're afraid of getting sick. You're afraid of passing away and all because you're like at an old age. But good grief, dude. Yeah. Go hang out with your buddy Michael Wilbon. Get out of that freaking basement. Get out of there. Or just have Frank Isola take over. I mean, because why in God's name has that guy not gotten a promotion at ESPN? Like that's what I don't get. Like, oh my God.
I don't even know who that is. I don't know if this is terrible to admit, but I don't know who that is. Who's that? Who is that?
He's the New York sports guy. He talks a lot about the Nets, and he talks a lot about NBA, Major League Baseball, and I believe pro football as well. He's like the fill-in guy on Pardon the Interruption. He's been there since 2017, and sometimes he takes over on Around the Horn. But I'll be honest, that guy's too good to be a panelist on that show. I mean, it's long overdue. He needs to get out of there, go on his own, create some kind of show on like YouTube, something. He should be doing something for himself.
Not that ESPN ever knows what to do with their talent. I mean, they're an extraordinarily poorly run company.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, if he's going to get a promotion, what he needs to do is get on Stephen A. Smith's good side. And when he does, and if he does, it'll be, oh, you should promote this guy right here.
Yeah.
They also win.
That's pretty good. That's good. Yeah. You got to promote this guy right here because he's good at what he does. You know, I don't know. I tried.
No, it's all right, man. It takes practice.
It takes practice. Oh, that's nice. Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Oh, man. Oh, we got practice. I'm the lead. I'm the NBA MVP. We talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Oh man. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what some of those ESPN people need. They need some Mufasa. Mufasa.
Mufasa.
Yeah.
Mufasa.
Mufasa. Yeah.
Mufasa.
Could you imagine James Earl Jones calling a football game?
Oh man, he'd do it with such authority, man.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You don't know the power of the RPO offense.
Oh man,
that was pretty good.
Was it?
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice. I love it. There we go. And
no,
nice
Michigan fans. He is your coach. I don't know.
There you go.
I think also for the USC game.
And your future king. This team is your future king.
There you go. What I'm also seeing for the USC game, because what I saw with Michigan in the previous 3 games now is that Davis Warren, it's hard to tell if Davis Warren is actually a good quarterback or not because the pocket collapsed constantly and quickly. So I would like to see Michigan's O-line keep that pocket protected, give the quarterback, give Orji now, an extra couple of seconds at least to be able to make a decision. That's what I saw, that because whenever they would give Orji the ball so far now, it's the 3rd and 5 running up the middle and he gets nowhere. And I think it's just that O-line is just not stopping anything. So they've got to get that figured out.
But we've talked about this before on the show.
Yeah.
And I think that it's mostly because that call is telegraphed. Like,
right. Well, there's that too, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, if Davis Warren's the starter and then all of a sudden Alex Orji's coming in on 3rd and short, you know what he's doing.
You know what they're doing. Right.
Yeah. There's no reason to guess, stack the box and make Michigan punt. And honestly, that's kind of on Sherrone Moore. Like, that's just poor play calling. And maybe that's more on Kurt Campbell than it is Sherrone Moore. But yeah, I mean, that's just poor play calling. Now, if Alex Orji's the starter and defenses have to worry about, where is he going to go? Is he going to run? Is he going to throw? He's probably going to run, but is he going to run, this way or that way? Now all of a sudden there are a lot more options open. And that's why I think Alex Orji should have been the starter from the beginning, is that maybe Michigan still loses to Texas and loses badly to Texas, but maybe he also would have been a little bit more competitive too, because at that point, the quarterback's not going to run. So if you stack the box and make him throw and he doesn't complete enough passes, which we knew Davis Warren wasn't going to do, I mean, Texas's game plan against Michigan is fairly simple. Just stack the box and make Davis Warren throw it, because he's not going to do it well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I've got something pulled up for 9 Big Ten teams, and they all got one thing in common. They're unbeaten, and that's something you don't see every day. We see Illinois unbeaten, Indiana unbeaten. We see Rutgers unbeaten, and
Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska. Oh, man, I can't believe Nebraska, Illinois is on Friday night. Like, they should have moved it up to bid noon kickoff.
It should have been prime time on Saturday. Like, that's going to be a good game. Well, and maybe that's why it's on Friday.
Well, more the merrier. I'll be watching.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, for sure. That top row right there, I mean, we haven't seen that in years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I'm actually kind of excited to see what Illinois, Indiana, and Nebraska are doing. Indiana and Nebraska primarily. I've got kind of a soft spot for Nebraska, because when they came into the Big Ten, everybody was saying, oh, Nebraska is going to come into the Big Ten and rule the roost. They're just going to destroy everybody. And then that never happened. And but Nebraska fans have never sort of goaded any of us on that. Every Nebraska fan I've ever met has been pretty cool. So now I've got kind of this soft spot for Nebraska, and especially I like Matt Rule. I'm interested to see if Matt Rule, if he can turn around Nebraska the way he turned around Baylor and Temple. I'm curious to know how long he'll stay at Nebraska, because I feel like Matt Rule is one of those coaches that loves the challenge. He loves to build the championship team and then move on. And I don't mean that in any sort of negative way, like he's ditching the team. I just feel like he feels that his mission has been accomplished and now it's time to move on to another team. He likes the challenge, basically. Indiana has always been we've got that border connection with Indiana, and I felt bad for them under Tom Allen, because again, Tom Allen is a good guy but just couldn't get it done, and now Kurt Cignetti pops in there and they're just they're storming the castle, I think is the phrase I used on our show. They're just coming out like gangbusters. Illinois, I mean, Illinois has had a rough time of it. I've never really been much of a fan of Illinois, but it's, they haven't really been, in that top tier for a long time. And now, especially when it was the East and West divisions in the Big Ten, now that they've removed those divisions, it seems like the West Division teams are all of a sudden, they got a fire lit under them.
Well, and this year will be the 100th anniversary of the Michigan-Illinois game from 1924 of Red Grange. That'll be pretty cool right there. And I think Illinois is paying respect to it with the uniforms that they wore from 1924.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's pretty cool.
Leather helmets and everything?
Oh, well, not except for the helmets.
Except for the helmets, yeah.
I don't know what that is, actually. I've never heard of that. What is that?
The leather helmet?
No. Okay,
No.
I've heard of the leather helmet. What's
I'm sorry. I'm
the
sorry.
the anniversary?
Red Grange was in it. Let me see. Yeah, he was a famous football player from back then. Let me see. There it is.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, here we go. Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, how neat. All right. Rededication game on October 19th. We will wear the special uniforms to commemorate the iconic performance of the Galloping Ghost, Red Grange. That's cool.
Mhm.
I've
Indeed it
literally
is.
never heard of that. That's
Yeah.
really sweet.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's okay,
Very
here you
cool.
go. So he drew national attention for his performance on October 18th, 1924 against Michigan in the grand opening game of Memorial Stadium. Michigan entered the game as favorites, having won the national title the prior year. Grange returned the opening kickoff for a 95-yard touchdown, then scored 3 more touchdowns on runs of 67, 56, and 44 yards, all in the first 12 minutes.
Pretty cool.
That's insane. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's really cool. I never knew that happened.
You're welcome, man. I'll tell you what's even crazier. We could see a big noon kickoff of Indiana, Nebraska.
Oh
That's
man, injected into my veins.
Yeah.
That'll be sweet.
That'd be good.
I'll say this about Indiana. Like, what was it? I can't remember who said it on X or Twitter, but they said if your welcome to the Big Ten moment is a 42-13 drubbing against Indiana, you don't belong here. UCLA does not belong in the Big Ten right now. Maybe they will in the future, but right now, no. And I don't know how I feel about their coaching situation because that doesn't sound like a good situation either.
Oh, it's awful. Like anybody taking over, I mean, is in an awful situation. I mean, they should have fired Chip Kelly the moment they got smacked 36-7 by Cal.
Yeah.
There is no cut me slack.
Chip Kelly, I mean, I'm not as familiar with his NFL tenure, but like he's not a head coach. You know, it makes perfect sense why Ryan Day hired him as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. So that's fine. But like Chip Kelly, I don't think he's ever really been that good as a head coach. So I mean, I don't know. It feels a lot like he just left that program in shambles.
Oh my God. Like it was in terrible shape. And I think honestly, anybody involved in that athletic department that handled the Chip Kelly situation poorly from the 2023 season to early 2024, they all need to be fired. They all just need to go. They should just go already.
I mean, that's probably, I don't know. I mean, that's probably what's going to end up happening is that it'll come out that UCLA's like from an administrative level is kind of toxic. I mean, that's kind of how it was when Rich Rod was at Michigan, where, you know, everybody in the athletic department, I mean, it was just kind of a toxic environment that nobody could really excel in. And I mean, that's why, well, that's not why Rich Rod did poorly. I mean, that's part of the reason, but I don't know. I just feel like in the near future, UCLA is going to be going on this like revolving door of head coaches because they're gonna fire this guy and then they're gonna bring somebody else in 3 years. They're gonna fire him after 3 years, bring somebody else in, and then the athletic director is probably going to get fired, and then so is the head coach because that's always what happens.
That's a pitiful program. That is just pitiful. I mean, Rutgers is doing better than them, and they can't be able to get anybody from California.
Yeah.
That's bad. But on the bright side, this looks pretty fun. We could see an unbeaten battle between Indiana and Nebraska. So on October 19th. I mean, I know like, oh, get away from me, Ad. Get away from me. You're interrupting my show, Ad. So it's like I got Nebraska's schedule pulled up. And I know that when I put out my top 10 surprise teams this year, I had Nebraska in as one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I cited that first half of the schedule as the reason.
I mean, so let me ask you something then, Jackson.
Okay.
Nebraska, let's say Nebraska beats Illinois
Okay.
35-10.
Okay.
You know, it's a solid victory. Illinois is ranked, but then they're going to Purdue. They're still undefeated. They beat Purdue. They beat Rutgers. They go on the road to Indiana and win a solid game against Indiana, which that's probably going to be a ranked on ranked matchup at that point too.
Yeah.
So at that point, Nebraska will likely have had 2 ranked wins. Then they go on the road to Columbus. Why not? I mean, if they're undefeated going into Columbus with 2 ranked wins under their belt, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dylan Raiola is playing lights out right now.
Oh, he's a baller, man. It's a
Yeah.
baller and blitz over in Lincoln.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Nebraska goes into Columbus, I mean ranked, but undefeated, that's what I was trying to say. If they go into Columbus undefeated, I mean, that game's going to be huge. And pretend for a second that Nebraska wins that game. Nebraska's probably going to the Big Ten championship at that point because all they have left is number 11 USC.
That would be absolute pandemonium in the Big Ten if Nebraska beats Ohio State.
It would be wild.
I mean, we would be cheering for crying out loud.
Oh yeah, like if Nebraska
I would go buy a jersey
Ohio,
the next day.
Oh man, like Nebraska defeating Ohio State. If that happened, everybody, Nebraska be storming the field. Dylan Raiola is going to be getting a lot of interviews. You'll be seeing Nebraska, Rich Eisen, Pat McAfee, Dan Patrick, and it's going to be Margot Robbie sitting at that movie theater with her feet kicked up, watching the whole thing in action.
Yeah.
Yep. Crying Ryan Day emojis all over Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still complaining about Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
Did he ever find Lou Holtz? Do we know if he found him?
I don't even know, and I don't think I want to. I don't even think I want to get into that Scooby mystery for today. But I'll figure it out. I'll probably find it before the end of the year. Just be like, and now I think we found the ghost of this Scooby mystery.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I mean, the ESPN FPI currently has USC with a 76% chance of beating Nebraska. I don't know, man. I mean, if Nebraska beats Ohio State, then I think they would beat USC, and then all they have left at that point is Iowa. And then they're in.
Well, Nebraska has that losing record against Wisconsin since they joined the Big Ten. The only time they beat them was on September 29th of 2012, but that's it.
But Wisconsin's on a death spiral right now. I mean, they didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know that there was any bright spot against Alabama, and Tyler Van Dyke's out for the season now.
Yeah, I saw where Van Dyke got hurt. I was like, oh no, they're gonna be hurting.
Mm-hmm.
See, now that's another one where I thought the opposite would happen of what's happened. I thought Luke Fickell would come into Wisconsin and they would be a powerhouse quickly. Maybe not instantly, but at least by year 2, which is where we're at. Just because of what he did at Cincinnati. I mean, I just assumed that Wisconsin, with Wisconsin's history of just being a powerful, smash in your face team, punch in the face team. I just figured they bring in Luke Fickell and Wisconsin is going to be back on the top of the Big Ten, but
it's
that's not happening.
It's a completely different philosophy. I mean, Luke, it's like Steve Day said about Rich Rod coming to Michigan. You've got a completely different offensive identity coming in that needs to be established. And if you're trying to establish a different identity, then you have to tack on like another, 3-4 years onto the rebuilding. Because at that point, not only are you trying to establish an identity, but you have to also get your players into that system too. So you've got, you need to have time for recruiting. You need to have time to develop those players. And then once those players are developed, then you reestablish the identity. And that's just not going to happen with well, I shouldn't say that. It's not happening yet with Luke Fickell, and I don't hold out a lot of hope that it will.
Well, I really hope that the Badgers do better, do better than what they're doing right now. I mean, it's one bad year, maybe it's second bad year. I really hope the third year will be better. But the bright side of being down is the only way to go is up.
Or you get fired.
Or you get fired.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, we're at that point where it's like one bad day, you're fired. You slip on a freaking banana peel, you're out.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. I don't know. I wonder. I mean, because Wisconsin's already got the loss to Alabama. They've got USC next. They're not going to win that. Purdue and Rutgers, I think they'll beat Purdue. Rutgers is a toss-up to me. At Northwestern, they should win that. Then they've got Penn State, Iowa.
Yeah, going to Northwestern's like a death trap for Wisconsin.
I know, but like Northwestern's not very good either. So it's like, how do you take that? Because like really good Wisconsin teams have lost to really bad Northwestern teams.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know. But then they've got Penn State, Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska. I don't think Wisconsin's going bowling this year.
I hope they do, because I mean they need like some momentum.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. I don't think their recruiting is going very well right now too because of it, but I don't know. Could be wrong. Maybe they'll turn it around here.
Yeah, because I mean they need wins. They need wins badly. They need it like a baby needs milk. I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do.
So they gotta have that, and the quarterback situation. I mean that should get better for Michigan and 2024 season. I mean, I'm excited to see the national title rematch on October 5th. That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be really interesting because Washington just lost to Washington State, and I don't think Washington State's supposed to be very good this year. So that'll be an interesting game. Maybe Michigan will still take that one then. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that both the teams that were at the national championship both lost their head coaches, both lost a bunch of starters. I mean, they're both in rebuilding years right after the national championship.
Yeah, because I mean,
stayed.
Yeah, I mean Steve Sark. I mean he's doing pretty good at Texas. I mean he went from showing up drunk at work, getting fired by USC because of it, to being rehabilitated by Nick Saban and just taking names in Austin.
I didn't know about that. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, didn't that's what happened with Lane Kiffin too, isn't it?
Well, no, Lane Kiffin got fired while he was waiting at a bus stop.
Oh, yeah. But okay, where was that from? I can't remember.
2013. That was in week 5 against Arizona State.
Okay, but where was he coaching?
USC.
Right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, but then he also went through the Alabama or Nick Saban coaches rehabilitation program as well.
Yup.
Yeah. Okay.
Yup.
That's amazing. Man, is there any single coach who has done more for college football than Nick Saban?
Yeah, because that's pretty cool right there. Like, I just wonder if Kirby will be like that next rehabilitation head coach for assistant coaches or coaches looking to make a name for themselves again. Because I mean, if it weren't for Nick Saban, I don't think we'd see Mike Locksley as a head coach again. Because I mean, you got to lose a record in New Mexico. I don't see you coaching anywhere afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike Locksley's kind of an enigma too. I mean, he's had some really good Maryland teams that have severely underperformed. That's it. I mean, you want to talk about a team that keeps getting hyped every year and then just never meets expectations. And it's not like the expectations are at Maryland are that high. I mean, you've got a team that should go bowling every year, but it's not like they're really competing for a Big Ten championship. It's just every single year. It's like, oh, Mike Locksley in Maryland, they've got the talent to put up against Ohio State and stuff like that. And then it just doesn't end up happening. Like they give Ohio State sometimes 2, maybe 3 good quarters and then just fall apart. And Michigan, they take Michigan to the wire, but then they can't do anything with it. They're such an enigma. I don't understand Maryland at all.
They're just pitiful. I mean, it's they're going to do just enough to make a bowl game again.
Yeah.
And some people are just going to cheer for them. And then there's going to be the one 40-year-old lady just wiping tears of joy from clapping for.
But it seems like Mike Loxley over there. I mean, he gets that team going. They get some wins, and it's like, yeah, we're going to do it. And then they lose a game, and they're like, yeah, well, we tried.
Oh, yeah. Well, we won our bowl game again. Woo!
Yeah. Nice.
Maryland won. Maryland won.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I remember watching that 2022 Maryland game, Michigan, Maryland. Of course, I remember it. It was 2 years ago. But how upset Mike Loxley was during that third quarter, or maybe it was early fourth quarter when Blake Corum scored the final touchdown. And Loxley's looking at his defensive coordinator and just chewing him out. I mean, it was a sight to behold. Like that was that was kind of funny to me. Yeah.
Well, on the bright side for them, they don't have Michigan, Ohio State, but not even Penn State, but they're screwing up already.
I know. Again, another team that gets hyped every year and never meets expectations. Penn freaking State. Oh, I could.
Was it
I
1966 Michigan State?
Are we going back that far? Hang on, let me pull up the schedule.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Oh my gosh. But like, okay, the national media every single freaking year, Penn State, it has this great team. They've got so much talent. They're going to finally do it this year. They're going to take it to Michigan. They're going to take it to Ohio State. Never happens. Never happens. And yet Jim Harbaugh was always the one that the national media called a fraud right up until 2021. They're all like, well, Jim Harbaugh is obviously the fraud. Look at, he has all these great seasons, but he can't beat Ohio State. Penn State can't beat anybody ranked in the top 15. So,
yeah, you got to go back to Paterno for any of that.
Oh, yeah.
Even then, you got to go well back into Paterno's era too to find that, because he was falling off towards the latter part of his career too.
But he had something like 400 wins, didn't he?
Yeah, I would say literally 400 wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he coached for 40 years, but.
Well, 45 years.
45. All right. Yeah.
45, okay.
It's like.
That's,
Oh, man.
That's almost an average of 10 wins a year. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistently mediocre. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 409 wins. My mistake.
That's not consistently mediocre. That's really good.
Yep. 409 wins.
It's good, but it never gets you to a championship.
Well, but it depends on when those 10 wins happen.
Well, they got screwed out of a shot at a national championship 1969. They won it all in 1982, and they won it all in 1986.
Well, there you go. See?
Sure. Well, Penn State was another one back in when they joined the Big Ten. Was that 92 or 94?
1993.
93. Okay. And again, it was, I remember my stepdad telling me, oh yeah, when Penn State gets into the Big Ten, they're probably just going to roll everybody for a while. And it never happened. And I don't know what it is that these teams join the Big Ten because they're these big powerhouse teams, and then they can't play ananymore. I know Oregon might be an exception, but we'll see.
I'm just mad that they've only played Pittsburgh 8 times since they joined the Big Ten. Like, that sucks. It should be more than that.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. You don't do that. You don't do, we don't benefit. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. You're playing that game every year.
They should. That's why, I mean, that's the same type of, like, Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State, Pitt, Ohio State, Akron, apparently.
I don't think it's too late to lobby the Pennsylvania governor and Senate to make Pittsburgh, Penn State play each other every year, is it?
Shouldn't be.
It is a legal requirement for this game to happen every year, or somebody goes to prison.
Yeah, but I'm
hopefully they
surprised. I
don't.
mean, that's got to be a big in-state rivalry. I'm surprised they don't play it every year.
Well, it was in the 70s and 80s. It was like a big time rivalry, but now it's like, I mean, like nobody my age even thinks about that game, and it's a
Right.
crying shame. I hate it. I hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it.
I mean, in Penn State's defense, Pitt sucks. So
I don't care. You're playing them
Yeah.
anyway. You
I-
say
well,
they suck,
yeah.
you play them. Plus, dreams go to die at Pitt.
Ouch.
All right. Yeah. I'll buy
Louisville
it.
can tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Also, I see we got you at an hour and 6 minutes. How long do you usually go for?
Oh, there's really no time limit. I go by however long you want to go on. But I can tell you though, I forgot. Like I'm having so much fun. I'm just like I'm forgetting.
I know.
I
Yeah.
think we covered
It just-
everything, and as we get to the wrap of the show, gentlemen, for those who want to hear about you, tell them they can find you.
Go ahead, Mac.
Me?
Rock,
Oh,
paper,
all right.
scissors, shoot.
I don't. I got to remember first where we're at. Let's see. We've got teamrivalry.com where you can do the pigskin pick 'em and pick games with us. And, we keep track of scores and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. You can find us on YouTube at the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. We have a live stream every Monday night at 8 o'clock. Jackson, you have joined us before. We'll have you on again soon. And then I'm also, oh my gosh, Big Ten
He's got it right there.
Team,
You can read it
where is it? Oh,
right there on the screen.
B1G Team Rivalry on X.
Mhm.
I gotta memorize my X handle. I'm so sorry.
All right.
And then we do videos every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. for Michigan football at the Voice of College Football channel on YouTube as well.
There we go. You heard it here, folks. And you can see the latest point-a-minute video on Michigan football at the Voice of College Football from Cliff and Mac as they go over on how Michigan can beat USC. And as for me, you can find me on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979, where I'm 137 subs away from that magic number 500. I need to get there before my birthday on September 30th. And you can find me on X at Jackson VOCFB and Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. And finally, you can find me on Alabama at the Voice of College Football, where Johnny Burtz and I co-host Crimson Tide Live on Alabama at the Voice of College Football Monday afternoons, 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can also check out the bye week episode from Monday afternoon, where we go over the impact of Ryan Williams' takeaways from Alabama, Wisconsin, and what's going to happen with Tua Tagovailoa, and the series of West Virginia possibly getting nixed in favor of the backyard brawl. And with that being said, this is Jackson Johnson wishing you all a happy weekend, and stay safe, stay cool, stay away from what's left of that heat as the fall is coming on in already. See you soon, everybody.
Go Blue.
Roll Tide.